I think outer and inner exploration is so important for is to allow ourselves to continue to expand, to not just be confined to the things that we believe that we are, because we are so much more. How's it going, folks? My name is Kerrsen.
I'm Lianne Bridges.
And we are building bridges. We're trying to start a podcast to bridge the gaps between everything in life, between generations, between cultures, between ideologies. And we think it starts between the mom and the son.
Yay, that's awesome. And today we want to talk a little bit about how our inner exploration relates to our outer adventures in life. When we want to live our greatest life and the best version, our best expression, it really is that balance between that inner exploration, who we are, what we're all about, what makes us tick, brings us alive, and how do we translate that out into adventures in the world, things that we really love. And before we get started on that topic...
Sorry, in other words, you could say bridging the gap between...
There you go.
Building bridges between your inner exploration and outer adventure.
Exactly. Because sometimes we get stuck in one or the other, right? We're just out there doing all this stuff and doesn't really make that much sense, or we haven't done the inner exploration, or vice versa. So our workshop is really in the Montreal area, if you're around. It's coming up on Sunday, January 20th, 2025. And it's really going to be that exploration, help people as they're starting the year off, thinking about the year. A lot of times we think about the year ahead and we think about the adventures that we want to experience in the coming year. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and the inner exploration that we need to do as well to help us to achieve those goals. So, so I just, what is, like, maybe we can start off, like, what does inner exploration mean to you, Kerrsen?
For me, inner exploration is kind of trying to truly understand who you are as a person and taking away what you aren't as a person. I feel like so many people throughout their entire lives have been told what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and have an identification of who they are as a person that may not even be created by who they truly are, or even by their own thoughts. And so I think bridging that outer and inner exploration is exploring out into the world, finding things that you like, finding things that bring you joy and bring you out of your comfort zone so that you can truly understand who you are as a person. And the most important thing about inner exploration for me is finding those things that create you to become the best version of yourself in the purpose of giving the most of yourself to the world.
I love that.
So what about you? What do you think that inner exploration is?
Yeah, I love that. To me, it's about being in that silence, that space between the thinking and the knowing and the working and the activation, and being in the silence and discovering what it is. Yeah, what is it that I love? What is it that excites me? But at the same time, one of the things you said is, we get attached to labels and what other people think of us. And we get so associated with an identity. I'm a mother, or I'm a husband, or I'm a wife, or I'm a friend. And we get lost in the perceptions and the archetypes of, what we're supposed to be. And I see people my age who have stuck with these, and then they're associated, let's say, with a mother or a parent, and then they're empty nesters, and they don't have an identity anymore.
And I believe at some point that identity is going to come crashing on you.
Always, right?
Always. It's
Always.
like if your identity is that you're a mother, what happens when your son or daughter leaves? And then you're just stuck with being who you are.
Yes.
Which isn't necessarily just a mother.
Exactly. Or like I often see, really beautiful people. They're struggling so hard when they get older because their beauty is getting lost, right? And so they've identified so much with that beauty. And then, there's so many different examples of that. What about, like, in your life? Is there certain things, even as a younger person, that you would already strongly identify with? Would it be like, I'm a student?
Yeah, exactly. I would say most people, at least in my life, tend to identify with their schooling, with their career path, and with maybe certain emotional or personality traits.
Yeah.
And then we don't realize that we're multifaceted beings, that we contain multitudes, that we are so much more than the things that we perceive ourselves to be. And when we identify within a certain realm of existence, whether that is a career, whether that's education, we limit ourselves to just being that version of ourselves. And that's what I think outer and inner exploration is so important for, is to allow ourselves to continue to expand, to not just be confined to the things that we believe that we are, because we are so much more.
It's so true. And how it relates to the outer adventure as well. If I see myself as a studious, I have such and such a path, a structured way of doing things, or one of the things, for example, with me, I was thinking when I was younger, there's a cat meowing in the background. When I always was the good girl in the family. And so, I grew up with 4 siblings, and my parents kind of associated. I was the one that did things the right way. I always was responsible. I always took responsibility. But it really caused me, when I wanted to break free of that and do my own thing, it was almost like golden handcuffs. I couldn't be the bad person or the rebellious person, And I spent years, even though it was really a compliment in a way. And that's the funny thing, because sometimes it's those outer accolades that create this persona for yourself. But it took me quite a long time to break free of that. And still, I suffer with that. It's like, can I do something that's not in the norm? What will people think, Yeah.
And so how do you believe we can overcome these?
I think it starts with awareness.
Yeah.
Self-awareness. And I know you do a lot of introspection to understand kind of what is it that's holding you back. Same with me. For example, I do feel like looking a little bit at your past from a perspective of what are some of the things that have hurt me in the past or held me back, like the one I just said, to say, okay, how now can I overcome that? Do I always have to be the one that is helping out, the first to say yes? What do I want? Can I listen to my own heart, what it really wants to say?
I think that's a lot easier said than done. A lot of the time is listening to our own heart, because we have so many conflicting ideas that go through our mind that we think sometimes this is our heart. We think this is our rational, and so, sometimes we have thoughts in our mind that are from our dad telling us we shouldn't do something when we're 5 years old, or our teacher in the 5th grade saying that we shouldn't do something, or a friend saying something, right? And so I find it very difficult for us to truly understand what we want in this life unless we go out and experiment and try new things, expand ourselves, go and see because if we just live one way, if we follow a specific path, then that's all we're going to be, and that's all we're going to know what we think we like. But when we try new things, even if it's the smallest things, like trying a new food or
I was bad at that on the weekend.
Trying to speak to a new person or go to a new place, or anything that it may be, even how small it may seem, just getting out of your comfort zone in the smallest little ways to try to expand your life and see new things, because you never know what you're going to like. And what is the worst case? You get a little bit embarrassed, or you try something that you don't like. Okay, cool. Now you know that you don't like it. So how about don't try it in the future? But
it's funny because our minds are so strong that we can even convince ourselves that we don't like something when really we're just sticking in our comfort zone. Sometimes it's like, how do we even know that's just our comfort zone? Like, no, I prefer this. I see that all the time, right? Yeah. It's so like how we even it's really a practice, just like yoga, I think. You have to practice this. What does this make me feel like? A lot of times people talk about, I feel nervous in my stomach, and I'm like, well, that's also excitement. There's such a closeness between the two. Can you try it out and see? I think I don't like it because I don't prefer it, but is it because it really makes me afraid?
And I think so often people put so much pressure on things needing to work out for them to actually try something. It's like we live this life as though every single thing is a test, and that we need to pass it in order to get on to the next thing. But in reality, it's just an experience. And every experience leads to a new experience and another one and another one. And if we allow ourselves to just experience what is in front of us without the pressure of needing it to go in a certain way, just allowing it to be what it is, and you learn from it and experience it, I think we can truly understand what we like and what we don't like, and what makes us who we are.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
how we can grow from that.
Do you have, like, I can explain a little bit of my recent example, but do you have any examples of that?
I have a good example. When I went to teach underprivileged kids in Peru in English, my thoughts going into it were like, I've never taught before. I don't speak Spanish. How am I going to do this? This isn't going to work out. But I was like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? Truly, what is the worst that's going to happen? They're going to tell me, okay, you can't do this. And then I go and do the next thing.
Yeah.
And so I went, and it was not the best. Right at the beginning, they just sent me right out, and I had to try to speak. It was kids from 4 to 17, all different levels of English, all different, everything, and it was very, very difficult. But at the same time, I took the pressure off myself to actually succeed in it, and just went into the experience trying to gain the most that I could from it. And it improved my Spanish. I made impact on these kids' lives. Well, they also made an impact on my life. And I had one of the most incredible, memorable experiences that I'll ever have. And potentially could lead me in a direction where in the future I would love to do something else like that.
Yeah. That's a great example too, because in thinking of what you were saying before about letting go of your expectation, what's going to happen, because you might have said, okay, I need to teach them this plan and English. They need to have this much vocabulary by the end. But what they experienced with you and what you experienced with them was so much richer.
Yeah.
They saw somebody who really cared. One of the things you told me is, you could just see they felt your presence of feeling
it was like it was more important, the fact that I was there, than it was that I was teaching them anything.
And that meant something to them, eh?
Like they cared about learning the language ish, and they were really smart and able to learn very well, but it was so obvious that having someone there caring for them and paying attention to them and just bringing light into their life was so much more important than the English language could ever be. And the English language can be very, very, very important for them.
Yeah.
But even with that, just being there for them was infinitely more important.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, as an entrepreneur, this is what I see the kind of the biggest key to my success, whatever my success has been, that I've been able to be an entrepreneur for 25 years. That's how I define my success, not by my millions of dollars or anything like that, but to be able to be self-employed, have the freedom to do what I love, and to be in service for 25 years. This is the biggest thing, is to let go of expectations. I've probably tried a million things that haven't worked. The percentage of things that kind of work, quote unquote, that I think the way that they're going to work is probably like less than 1%. But every single one of those things taught me something, first and foremost, about myself, let alone the market and my customers and everything like that. And so many times when people go into business or even a side gig, they have this great expectation. I'm going to make this money, I'm going to have this many people, it's going to be successful. And that doesn't usually work. But it's for me, why I say it's success is that I never give up. I just keep doing something new. I learn every time from it. I apply that to the next thing. And I'm always kind of sensing and feeling on the fly type of thing.
I think that's like one of the most commendable things, because especially I feel like when I'm back at home, I have a harder time with the willingness to just try new things. Because I feel like there's more pressure where I need to find a career. There's people around me that know me, so like I need to do something well. Yeah. But it doesn't, nothing ever needs to be like that.
No.
And so that willingness to just try and not give up when there inevitably is going to be the trials and tribulations of life. There is going to be hurdles at every given point. Like, why else would you live life if there wasn't those hurdles to overcome?
Yeah. And in our social media, world, we only see what's projected as successes. Even for me as a business owner, I'm not going to always keep telling you that workshop didn't work, that retreat didn't get sell out, that, but at the same time, I'm very happy to say, like, really a lot of things that I try don't work. And I have to be willing, and I have to find ways to be able to find enough things at work to be able to support me and be able to at least try certain things to always be innovative and creative. And you even see businesses that get really stuck in the way they do things. And a lot of them were successful because they were breaking free new ideas, and then they started to get successful, and then that stops them. So that's like a business is a personification of humans getting into their comfort zone, right? And then they go, right, all of a sudden. So it's,
innovation is always getting out of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
You can't create innovation without the desire for change.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because our world is changing so fast right now. And it just feels like a lot of times people are putting the brakes on. Like so much is coming at them. They're like, can't do this anymore. You know, like AI and social media and new types of businesses and new adventures or whatever. And it's like, okay, I just shut down. I give up. I don't know, again, about your generation is much like that. They're more adaptive to things. But I see my generation just like shutting down on so many things. It's like, okay, let me just stay in my house and I can be comfortable and I don't have to do anything else. And I know, like, for aging, it's so important to continue to try new things. We just start to crystallize into like a cocoon if we don't keep expanding, keep practicing. Of course, our body, but also our mind, but also our emotions and innovation and new things, you know?
Absolutely. And to go back to what you were saying before, more about the social media aspect of it. I like a quote that's like, comparison is the thief of joy, right? And so if we compare ourselves to others and the way that others are succeeding or not succeeding, we're going to inevitably take out all the joy in our life because we're on our own divine journey, and whatever way that goes is exactly the way that it's supposed to go specifically for us.
Yes.
We can't compare ourselves based on the expansion or contraction or the progress of another human being, especially considering the fact that, like you're saying, most people only are willing to show the positive aspects of what they're going through. When you go on social media, you're going to see, in my realm of people who are doing traveling and stuff, it's all these amazing travel videos of them at the coolest places doing the coolest things. And even the stuff that I try to post on TikTok tend to be like that. But that's not the whole perspective of what they're going through. Everyone goes through the difficulties of life to be able to get to those points, and the lows are just as important as the highs. There would be no journey without them. And
for sure. And there's so much judgment. This is a big theme this year, kind of going into 2025, is like, how can I not be in judgment for sure of myself and of others? And when we really get that, what you're saying is everyone's on their own path with their own set of gifts. And, you know, like one example I'll often say is that I'm a generalist. And as a generalist, I can always look at people who specialize in anything in life, anything that they're especially good at. And I'll never match. I'll never be as good as this marketer or this spiritual person that focuses on only sound healing or this financial, whatever. But what I'm good at is being a generalist. So, you know, I can't judge, compare, whatever. That's my path. That's my tools that I'm here with. And so when we start to get that, you know, I always joke back and forth with my colleague that I do retreats with, because I'm more structured and she's more flexible. But that's our path. That's why we're here. That's the beauty we bring to each other in the world. But it's so easy to judge the other. And in that judgment, we're kind of trying to protect ourselves.
I like a quote that's this guy said that he has two groups of friends, his work friends and his non-work friends. And his work friends, he's a scientist, right? And so, and then his non-work friends, they all golf. And so with his golf friends, he's the best scientist out of all the golfers. And out of his science friends, he's the best golfer out of all the scientists.
Exactly.
And so when being a generalist, you have the ability to be good at all vast array of different things. But maybe not specialize in the way that others can. And to not judge yourself based off of that, because you have your own strengths, you have your own weaknesses. Everyone goes through a different life, and we can't possibly judge each other based off of our specific life, thinking that another person is supposed to live a life the same way as us, or we're supposed to live a life the same way as them.
And it's a tall order, and it's I think it's, for me anyways, I can say it's an ongoing path, it's an ongoing process to just really let go of that judgment. You know, like equally on that same example, someone who's a specialist will feel bad because they're not general, and they don't have like this rounded view of things. We can always find things within ourselves that we're not good enough. And that is really a pandemic of the world, or whatever you want to call it, people not feeling worthy enough in a certain area or in lots of areas of their life. So in order to do that outer adventure, when we don't feel good enough, or we doubt ourselves, or we have fear, it's very hard for us to get out of the comfort zone, do something that really excites us and really makes us feel great afterwards. If I think about the last... Oh, sorry, did you want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
And to bring that full circle, to me, inner and outer exploration is the same thing. It is just following your heart in every given situation. It's not following what other people have told you to do. It's not following a guideline of how you should live your life. Inner and outer exploration is truly trying to be divinely yourself in every given situation with your authenticity, by following what you feel is right for you.
I love it. I think we should end there. That's perfect.
All right.
Thank
you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Peace. The universe is yours.